Good morning and a happy Veterans Day. It's always happy for me because I don't have to go to work. Well, I do teach at a yeshiva, so the yeshiva, I do have to go to work, but I told, this is already with the last principal who I became very good friends with. He told me I don't have to come in Veterans Day. So I haven't been coming in Veterans Day for several years. And the new principal was told by the old principal, give Weintraub everything he had with me. I guess it doesn't work like that in the real world, but in the yeshiva it does. So I'm not coming in Veterans Day, but along comes the Board of Education, the Department of Education that I work for in New York, and they announced that Election Day that started last year is going to be remote. So I would have to go in Election Day just for the yeshiva. So last year I did, but this year they announced, thank God to Mayor Adams, former Mayor Adams, that they're going to have off for Diwali. So I told the principal, the yeshiva principal, I said, look, Diwali is the first Monday after Sukkot. It's the first day kids are back after 3 weeks not having any English. I'll come in Diwali, but I'm not coming in Election Day. You already know I'm not coming in Veterans Day. So today is, right, today is my second day off this month. And we should have more Diwalis. And right, with all the veterans, I will say that Trite, thank you for your service, which I'm sure you guys don't want to hear. A lot of the veterans, it was not something they wanted to do. It was something they had to do. Not everybody wanted to enlist, but thank God for the United States military that made the world a safer place until recent politics makes it a less safe place. But Halabai, the military, with God's help, continues to continue to make this world a safer place. Okay.
Happy Mar Cheshvan.
Mar Cheshvan, yes. Oh, you reminded me. Thank you. You reminded me to quote a meme from the millennials. Actually, it's from the kids. This Shabbos morning was the first day I was no longer 7 years old. On Saturday, November 8th was my 68th birthday. I don't celebrate birthdays, but Jay, my birthday was Yud Dalet Cheshvan, so you missed it already, but thank you. So for next year, the Yud Dalet Cheshvan, I'll be 69 in Yetz Hashem. What? 60? Oh, you're hearing too? 68. Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. When I was 60 years old, my sister called me and said, happy birthday, AB, you're halfway there. So I said, oh, thank you. I feel much more than halfway though. Okay. Anyway, we are here for Parshas Chayei Sarah. So the question that I put on the bulletin, on the announcement, is what was the test for Rivka? What was the test? Good morning, Janusz. What was the test for the matriarch, the second matriarch for the house of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob? What was the test? Who are we going to take as a fitting wife and mother for what's going to become Klal Yisrael? Well, what's going to become Yaakov and Esav, and of course Klal Yisrael. So what's the fitting? So let me ask you, what was the test? What was the test? No. What was the test? Eliezer is given the command to take the camels, and he takes a lot of Abraham's riches. He takes a lot of gifts, and he's got a caravan in the desert. What was the test that is going to produce the bachelorette that's going to marry Avram's son? What was the big test? How she handled the water. What do you mean? Elaborate.
Well, yeah.
Animals, people. All right, so you're telling me that the test is simply, will she give water to him? Will she give water to the camels? That's the test. That's all. Let's look at the psukim for a minute. He says, I'll read it in the English. See, I stand here by the spring of water, and the daughters of the townsmen come out to draw. And they're drawing water from the well. There's no faucet in those days. There's no running water. So it's hard to do. Whether Rivka was 3 years old, as a medrash says, or she was 13 years old, either way, this is a small little girl that is got to face all the men and the camels. And it's probably hot because the desert in the Mideast is always hot. And it's probably not an easy job to be the water carrier. Let it be that the maiden to whom I shall say, please tip over your jug so I may drink. And who replies, drink, and I will even water your camels. Her will you have designated for your servant, for Isaac, and may I know through her that you have done kindness with my master. So Eliezer says it's going to be the one that says, here, sir, you can have some to drink, and I'll also give your camels. So that's what we think. That's what we think what's happening. My grandfather, when he wrote his sefer, probably wrote it in the 50s and 60s, because he gave the Lubavitcher Rebbe a copy of it. So when he wrote his sefer, he wasn't the only one that came up with this idea. When I once gave this year at a Shabbos, Sonny Gershon, Rabbi Gershon told me, look at the Beis HaLevi. So I did. The Beis HaLevi also has the essence of the Dvar Torah, and the Beis HaLevi writes that he thinks he heard it somewhere or saw it somewhere, and he can't remember where. So this was floating around in the 1800s. The Beis HaLevi would have ascribed it. Had he seen it, he would have said, so I read it here. My grandfather would have ascribed it if he saw it, because many times in the Sefer he ascribes it. So this is something that was floating around in the 1800s, in the 19th century. My grandfather put it together in a beautiful way, and he says, we got a few questions over here. Eliezer has a plan, but what is Eliezer thinking? Eliezer thinks, I'm going to drink from that, and what's going to happen to the water? I'm going to get a little water. She's going to give the camels water, and then she's going to go, and whatever water's left, bring it home. And the water that she's going to bring home already has what I drank from in it, or little remnant of what was in his mouth who's going to be in the water. You can't do that. Eliezer knew menschlichkeit, which ends up being in Maseches Derech Eretz. That's medieval, I believe. It's not from the time of the Gemara. Maseches Derech Eretz is written after the time of the Gemara, and it's rules of Derech Eretz that it says a person etiquette. A person should not drink from a jug that somebody else drank from. They did not know from germs. What they did know from was two things. Spiritual, you're not sure that other person is okay, and if not a good person is drinking, there are spiritual, we call them germs, but there are spiritual things in the water, bad vibes in the water. Or they did know you just don't drink from somebody who knows who that person is. He's not baduk. He's not a person that is known to be a healthy person. You're not going to drink that water. So Eliezer is putting her into a position. Okay, there's more. Rivka had a mission. Her father sent her to get water. Why is she there? She's getting water for her father, for the family. So she's going to stop Kibbutz and give water to Eliezer. And she's going to give water to his camels. Rabbi Hirsch, in his Chumash, writes, camels drink about 140 gallons each. I love the way the number comes up in the Samshol Hirsch, about 140 gallons each. It's a lot of water for a 3-year-old or a teenager. A lot of water to draw.
How many camels are there?
10 camels. It tells us 10 camels. That's a lot of water. That's a lot of water, and this is going to take a long time. I'll tell you, well, it'll take a good. I don't know how big that, you know. I don't know how much the camels drank. I think Rabbi Hirsch is talking about a fully dehydrated camel. We have to assume that Eliezer's camels were very well taken care of, and maybe the camels were in on this too, so they didn't want to drink 140 gallons each. But it's a big job. It's a big job, is what he's saying. But her father sent her to come home with the water, and her father's going to say, you know, what took you all day? What took you so long? So what gives her the right to violate the kibbut of that she is got to do? I mean, she's going to do a nice chesed, but at the same time, she's going to violate kibbut of. What kind of woman is this that we're going to take for a wife for Yitzchak? Another question my grandfather says, we have a pasuk in Eshes Chaya that we sing Friday nights. I used to sing it. When you're married long enough, you stop singing Eshes Chaya. No, I said, just make Kiddush. Okay, but I used to sing it. Piya pascha v'chachma, v'soras chesed al lashona. Her mouth, she opened with wisdom. And the Torah of chesed is on her tongue. She speaks chesed. She speaks with chesed. First comes Piya Pascha B'Chachma. It's not enough to be a chesed. The Eshes Chayil that we're going to take for Yitzchak, and a paradigm that we're going to look for when you're looking for a balas chesed for your own children, is one that has chachma first. It's not going to be enough just to be a nice, good midos, but you got to know what her grade point average is. What's the GPA? My sister reminds me of my sister. We were looking for, my nephew is married today, Baruch Hashem. He made Aliyah, 5 kids later. They live in Ramat Bet Shemesh, very nice. But when he was starting to go out, I had someone I mentioned to my sister, and she said, yes, but what was her GPA? I said, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Did she win any awards? I said, are you kidding me? I think she got a Chumash award in 5th grade. I mean that's what, yeah. Okay, I can understand. It's a little extreme, but yeah, chesed, but you're also looking for somebody who has not just the common sense. You're looking for somebody who actually is intelligent. It is important to be intelligent. Okay. My wife tells me that she's much more logical than me. Okay, she might be. But then I tell her June 10th, which is our anniversary, and then she tells me shut up. So logic has nothing to do with it. Okay. So what's going on over here? So let's look at one more pasuk before I tie it all together. And the Beis Halevi, in the new Beis Halevi, they have a very good pirush. The pirush says, how could Eliezer stand by and let this girl do this to the camels, for the camels? Eliezer, what kind of person is he? Eved Avram, he's supposed to be trusted. Avram found him to be a wonderful human being, and we praise him, and he's doing this to a little girl. Ridiculous. She has to carry for all his camels. What kind of chesed is he putting her through? Let's look at one more puzzle. Vayoretz ha'eved lekrasa. So the servant ran towards her and said, a few more psukim, let me sip, if you please, a little water from your jug. He said, just let me sip a little water. She said, drink, my lord. And quickly she lowered her jug to her hand and gave him drink. When she finished giving him drink, she said, I will draw water even for your camels until they have finished drinking. So what did she do? She hurried and emptied her jug into the trough. Just give the camels water. Why do you empty the jug into the trough? Just go to the well, get more water. She's wasting water. Yeah, honey's not on it. She's wasting water. Baltashkas, she's wasting water. Why is she wasting water?
Am I going to say she's wasting it? Someone will drink it, the animals will drink it from the trough. She's not wasting it.
Okay, the animals will drink it, but nobody else will drink it. Okay, good. Okay. So let's see. Let's put it together. Let's put it all together. So my grandfather said, this is what's happening now. Eliezer, we have no problem with him. Eliezer Eved Avram definitely is a bari. He would be allowed, according to Maseches Derech Eretz, the book of Jewish etiquette, before germs, he would definitely be allowed to drink, and I would drink from his cup because Eliezer was a muhsak to be a kosher person. No problem. Yeah, we care about germs because we are finicky, but Eliezer, I would drink from his glass anytime. She didn't know this. She didn't know this. What does she have to do? What she has to do, she sees this man coming from Israel, from Eretz Canaan, and she's in Aram, which is somewhere in Syria or Iraq. She doesn't know who it is, a man with camels. So she has to assume, I don't know who he is. I cannot use the water anymore. The water's gone. She gave him to drink. He said, give me a sip. Let me drink from. She actually lowered the jug and said, here, drink. And she had no cup, so he's drinking from the jug. What do you do with the jug? He told her, tip it into my mouth. Hagmi'ini no. Hagmi'ini means drip it into my mouth. What did he say? Let me sip, if you please. Hagmi'ini. Hagmi'ini is more like drop it into my mouth. She said, nah, that's not nice. You could drink, sit down. Here, my lord. Shisei Adoni. And she lowers it to her hand. She didn't tip it over from her shoulder. She lowered it and she says, here is the jug. Drink your fill. He's drinking. What does she do? If she goes and spills out the water, she's going to insult him. She's going to insult this guy, and that is the worst avera, to be mabaza somebody. There's no chesed if you embarrass somebody. Because she's saying, I don't know who you are. I have to assume the worst about you. It's not fit what you drink. It's not fit for human consumption. So what does she do? She doesn't spill it out. She spills it to the trough, but she has to think fast. And she says, she's thinking, what am I doing? What am I doing? She's thinking, this is going to go to the camels. But before anybody can figure out what's going on, she has to cover her tracks. And she says, 10 camels, no problem. She says, Gam ligmalecha eshav. She said, drink, and I will also draw water for your camels ad imkilu lishtos, until they are finished drinking. Here comes 140 gallons. To cover her tracks, that nobody should realize what she did, I'm going to give the camels in the trough, and I'm going to get for all 10 camels. And Eliezer is watching this and thinking, a girl like that is worried about tumah, that is worried about purity. I don't have to check her brother or whatever the Chazal tell us. You want to find out if the girl's pure enough for your Kolel son. She's fine. If that's what she's worried about, she's fine. I don't have to check that. Eliezer planned the whole thing in the beginning. And she's doing the camels one by one so that nobody should realize that she couldn't trust him to just go get more water and go to her parents with more water. All this chesed, So we read what the Parsha says. We read what the Parsha says, and we think we know the story, but you have to read through the lines and realize what is the real deal over here of what Rivka is doing. Interestingly, when you look at the way he retells the story to Rivka's father and brother, the way he retells the story to Besuel and to Laban, he doesn't say, feed my camels, give my camels to drink also. He just says, let me drink, and she lets me drink. He doesn't say that she lowered it to her hand. It doesn't, it just says, and here is the story. And the Torah goes through the entire story. And, you know, many halachas we learn from a little crown on top of the word. And this, we get the entire narrative twice. And he says, this is what he tells Besuel. I am standing, behold, by the spring of the water. Let it be that the young woman who comes out to draw, and to whom I shall say, please give me some water to drink from your jug. He doesn't say, please let me sip water. Give me some water. And who will answer, you may also drink, and also draw for your camels, fine, shall be the woman. So he says, I had not yet finished meditating when she comes to the spring and draws the water. So she hurried and lowered her jug from her upon herself and said, drink, and I will even water your camels. It doesn't say, I'll water your camels until they finished drinking. He doesn't tell the story to Besuel the way it really happened. Because Besuel and Lavan would never understand. I mean, she gave you and the camels, and she poured the water in the trough so that no one's going to drink it, and she gave all the camels to cover her tracks. He doesn't say that because A, they wouldn't appreciate it, and two, it's not part of their vocabulary. Chesed is not part of their vocabulary. So he's letting us know this is something only a balas chesed could do. Yes.
So at the beginning of the class, I asked you a question. Someone asked you a question similar to that.
Go ahead.
Is who did Rivka take? Obviously, a brother like a father weren't good examples for her. Who was her mother?
I don't know.
No, thank you. You know, there many times you see a convert, and you say, where did the convert become a frum person? I'll give you an example. I know a convert who is a widow, has a son, and she works for a yeshiva. So I asked her name is Hannah. So I asked her, why don't you get remarried? And she said she's looking, but she was on a date with a guy in the heart of Flatbush, Midway. And it was time for mincha, and the guy said, let me just stand by the side of a building, give me 5 minutes, I'll finish mincha. And I said, what was wrong with him? And she said, what was wrong with him is I don't want a person who has a shul on every corner to be such an influence on my son. How does a person become so frum? How does a person become such a balas midos? How does a girl become such a balas chesed? Some people develop this when they see the world around them. How did Rus become such a balas chesed? Who did she take after? Zilpah didn't take after that person. Rus did. So I don't know if Rivka had to take after genetically somebody. Rivka saw the world around her. And Rivka realized what's proper and what's not proper. It was the task of Eliezer, with Hashem's help, to go and find that candidate that had that chesed. But to say that who she took after is to say that chesed is only genetic, and it's not. Many times chesed is not genetic. There's chesed among almost everybody in the world that can do chesed. Many people don't.
Surroundings, or it's genetic. It doesn't sound like it's around. I don't know if they were atypical for their country. or maybe there were people that she saw have chesed, but it's really not, I don't know if it's an innate thing that, you know.
It's
you have
not,
to- you have to see it.
well, chesed, I believe, is an innate quality that can be developed, or it can be cultivated, or it's something that could be pushed aside. It's a special person that realizes that and cultivates it. We're exposed to, a lot of people are exposed to examples of chesed and examples of achzaris, the opposite of chesed. We're exposed to that. What you feel is right, what you emulate is right. I give the example of the Giores. Her father, she told me the story once, her father was swindled by a Jewish partner. So I said, what would your father? Her father had passed away. And she said, a father would have said, when she converted after her father had died, but a father would have been very surprised that she converted to Judaism. And she converted, she said, not because of the people. She converted because she believes in the religion, not because of the people she met. She met a lot of people that are not the paradigm of what Judaism is supposed to embody, unfortunately. But you could see this is a real balas chesed. I wish her well. I wish she does find another shidduch. Maybe she did already. This is something that we as a people should be proud of, that there are such people that have joined us. Okay, a short shiur. And when we look for chesed, may we also be emulators of chesed. And we shouldn't put people through tests like the camels, but there was no other way for Eliezer to ascertain this. That's why he put the little girl, 3-year-old, 13-year-old, put her through the ropes. 3 is a machlokas, 3, 13, either way, the camels were not little camels. Right. There was no other way to do this. A lot of water, a lot of camels, that's right. Well, okay, but I think she was a teenager. Either way, it was a very big chesed. Nathan, have a good day. Have a good day. Jay was there.
Thank you, Rabbi. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Amen.